Hey everybody, coming at you with another film review on our way to getting to 100 films. I went to see a few weeks ago a Great Awakening um, with hopes that, hey, maybe it was different than I thought it would be and it wouldn't be a heavy handed message about the United States being a Christian country. And turns out I was wrong. It was a heavy handed piece of propaganda that took the message of the Great Awakening and what it was and turned it into that argument, right? That separation of church and state's not a real thing, that the founding fathers who pushed for the separation of church and state um, were just basically soulless, godless, when people like John Randolph are upheld in the film. So, and student of history, reading the letters of James Madison, who wrote our Bill of Rights and is the father of our Constitution, who pushed repeatedly, and I'm not even going to go into the number of documents where James Madison saw how creating a state religion was exactly what we were trying to run from and create a separation of is a huge thing, but doesn't play out in this film. So I'll start off with what I thought were good things. First of all, as a United Methodist, I was really excited to see the John Wesley messaging, um, Charles Wesley, the hymns. It's like, and obviously Whitefield is having a year, right, with the Testament of Ann Lee. So that was really good. I like that. I like that they didn't gloss over Ben Franklin's uh, picadillos, his human issues with, you know, as it would be. I like that they didn't gloss that over. I did like at the end of the movie, stay through the credits, they list all of the extras in the film. I think that's so nice because as someone who's been an extra, I know people who've been extras. It's such a crucial part of a film, right? These people who show up, make their day wages, dress in costume, and fill the background. Crucial to a believable scene. And to give them their due in such a way, I thought was really kind and top notch of the film. Um, as it would be. So I like those things. Things I didn't like so much, again, the heavy handed message that kind of strips away what the Great Awakening's meaning in our revolution was and giving it the total credit for the revolution. I didn't like that Ben Franklin, notably, is just this old guy who walks around and speaks in Poor Richard's Almanac sayings. Like he is, I don't know, a fortune teller from his own writings. I'm pretty sure Ben Franklin probably talked to people more way and he's always going out to fly kites. And I guess he just felt like he was a whole bunch of stereotypes and then downplayed, his deism and to why he did what he did at the convention. Um, so the Great Awakening itself, no real historical examination of what it really was in terms of looking at someone like Whitefield and looking at Jonathan Edwards. And if you've ever read Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God by Jonathan Edwards as a piece of sermon that just hits hard, the idea of the Great Awakening is in that, right? And as a student of Aaron Burr, who is Jonathan Edwards' grandson, and knowing those speeches and those sermons from Aaron Burr's dad, Aaron Burr Sr., who's one of the founders of Princeton, the idea of this Calvinist philosophy that kind of gets stripped out of the movie in terms of more of an evangelical bent of born again Christians. And the Great Awakening in itself was a call to recognize the faith inside of you individually, that you didn't need a king to dictate to you what your faith was going to be. You didn't need an overriding monarch or state to dictate your faith and use your faith as a tool to keep you in basically bondage. And so this idea of separating yourself and your internal faith and your relationship with God from the state was crucial. And James Madison writes about this in so many documents, this idea of keeping an encroaching ecclesiastical faith out of our government and just priesthood for the priesthood, government for the government. So many documents by James Madison, the writer of our Bill of Rights, the father of our Constitution, There's just so many things that just left out of this, and it underplays all of that in terms of remolding the message and where the film wants to go. And I knew that going in. I knew it would be that. I just didn't know it would be so heavy. Um, I did like the journey Whitfield went on, although, again, Whitfield was a Calvinist, and I didn't see a lot of Calvinist philosophy within this. I did just see a lot of, if you're going to go see it as a movie to understand the rise of evangelicalism in the United States and their philosophies, then yes, this is the movie for you. If you're going to see it as a lesson of American history, as true to life, then no. And my fear is this is going to be used by teachers as a tool in the future to show true history without context. Um, that concerns me. Because it doesn't necessarily tell you that this is just a perspective of history. And it lays the entire revolutionary cause at the feet of Whitfield and the Great Awakening, which also is not what happened with the Great Awakening. They looked, I think, more at the Second Great Awakening and the burned over districts, which I feel they moved that Second Great Awakening message of, tent revivals and Chautauqua meetings and on, into this. And that was more like the 1830s, like I said, in the burned over district, with the rise of all those faiths and the restoration of this idea of being born again, immersive baptisms. And I don't know, again, I enjoyed the Methodism stuff. I was like, yay. And that I really got in the movie. I thought, oh, maybe this movie isn't going that way, but it did. So it's not the movie for me. I'm hoping that it doesn't become the tool of people who want to use it to point out things that aren't historically accurate. And I would suggest reading James Madison's documents, reading Ben Franklin's writings, reading the notes that Madison took in the Constitutional Convention, rather than relying on movies like A Great Awakening to express it for you. So it's a no-go for me. I gave it a shot.